ASMR. Chess. Allow me to teach you the Scotch opening that you can play for white to get some very satisfying victories against black. We're going to be focusing on something called the Scotch Gambit. But first we have to get into the Scotch proper. And that opening starts pawn to e4. And when your opponent replies pawn to e5, you attack that pawn with knight to f3. Here they defend the pawn with knight to c6. And here is the move that makes the Scotch opening. Pawn to d4. This is a great move because it forces the game into a very specific territory, namely your territory, where you want the game to go. And let's take a look and really understand what this move is all about. What you are really doing with these two pawns here in the center is that you are making this your game. This is going to be your game. You are taking immediate control over the center, and also you are forcing the black pieces to react in a certain way to get the game into your backyard, so to speak. Because this is a very forcing move that you are playing. You are now attacking this pawn twice. And already there is only one good move for black. Black has to capture the pawn. If they do anything else, like pawn to d6, you are just going to advance this pawn, attack the knight goes somewhere, and from here you have a significant advantage with more space in the center and even more development. With this knight having moved twice, you can develop a new piece and you are just cruising here. So there is only one thing that black can really do, and that is to capture this pawn. Pawn takes pawn. And when the pros play this position, when Kasparov played it against Karpov in the World Championship, for instance, they play knight takes pawn. It's a very interesting move, but that is not what you are going to play. You are going to play the Scotch Gambit, saying that you're not going to take back the pawn. No, you are going for speedy development, and I will teach you a bunch of tricks that are all starting with this very nice move. Bishop to c4. This is a great move. It has a huge win rate at the sub 1600 level, and what that means, if you don't know chess ratings, sub 1600 is 99% of chess players. Almost anybody that you are going to play, unless they are very serious about chess and go to a chess club and study chess books, they are not going to have any idea what your plan is with this move, and you're going to use a bunch of very nice tricks. And I want you to think of yourself as a master chef. And I want you to think of the different variations that I'm going to show you in this video. I want you to think of those as different ingredients, different spices that you can combine in different ways depending on what your opponent is doing to make that master game, that master stew, and play a wonderful, brilliant game. And brilliant also happens to be the name of the sponsor of this video. You know, I always wanted to learn programming, but this stuff you see on the screen always seemed very daunting to me, which is why I'm happy that I can go into Brilliant that will turn all that hard stuff into cool little mini games that makes it easy and intuitive to learn. And you can learn anything on Brilliant, not just programming. In the description I have a link that will give you a free 30-day trial to Brilliant and a 20% discount on a premium annual subscription. Brilliant.org/ASMRchess. Now back to this amazing and very, very tricky opening. You are already throwing a big wrench in the gears of Black's development. You are not doing what they expect. You refuse to recapture this pawn, and they are left wondering what to do. And really, there is not a lot they can really do in this position. There are basically two moves that are statistically played in almost all games at the lower levels, or rather the common level where 98 to 99% of us live. And those two moves are this bishop out to c5 and the knight out to f6. And there are some different variations, and I'm going to teach you all the main ideas. And at the end of this video, I have a little gift for you, because after I teach you this wonderful opening, I'm going to give you the results of round 2 of the Deployment Auto Chess Tournament. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry, it's really, really cool, and I'm going to explain all about it at the end of the video, after you have learned the Scotch Gambit. So let's first look at bishop to c5. Why would Black play this? First of all, they are protecting their pawn, because if they don't do that, you can at any point actually come in and capture it. Because if they are not defending it a second time, so it's defended twice, you can just capture it. You're attacking it twice. Also, they are considering getting castled. They want to play the knight out also and castle their king away to safety. This is a high priority in any chess game, but in this one it's a higher priority even for them. Why? Because they are being hit with this gambit. They can see, oops, my opponent knows what they are doing. I don't want to get checkmated in the middle of the board right out of the opening. I better castle. So why not bishop c5? It's a logical move, and it is the first move that we are going to look at. Here you are going to exploit some weaknesses of this move. And you are going to play pawn to c3. Isn't that a nice little move? What is that about? That is actually about f7, about the king, about the queen, and about the bishop. But how and why? What does it look like on the surface level? What does it look like you are doing? What will Black think that you are doing? Black thinks that you are saying, okay, I lost a pawn. It was attacked twice, but it was defended twice. I'll attack it again. So now it's attacked 3 times. If I get to move again, come in and capture that, get those extremely strong center pawns, and have a basically winning game. That is what they are going to interpret this move as being. And it also does say that, but it's way down on the list of things that this move is doing. This is a very, very tricky move. And I'll show you how you can really cash in. Because in most games, statistically, they capture the pawn. because they say, okay, I capture this pawn here. I'm up 2 pawns now, but they expect you to recapture with the knight. And then you will not have the 2 center strong pawns. You will not challenge this bishop. Everything is great, is what they think. But now you are going to hit them with a big, big surprise. And from here on out, white has a huge statistical advantage. White wins 77% of these games, at least at the sub 1600 level. And the move, the magic move, is a sacrifice, exploiting this bishop. So bishop takes f7, and that is check. The king will have to recapture. King takes. And now we can see the weakness of this bishop. And we can see why it is good to control the center in chess. Controlling the center squares. And that is what the Scotch opening and the Scotch Gambit is about. Controlling the center. Because when you control the center like this, and black is not contesting, for instance, this square, queen to d5 check is a real killer. And here you have a tremendous game. But you have to know a little extra secret. A little extra secret you have to know here. So this is check. And you are thinking you want to pick up this bishop to restore material equality with a raging attack for white. And that is what you want to do. But only if the king goes to a dark square. Because then you will pick up the bishop with check, like here. Takes, check, maybe d6, and you come and capture this with the queen. If, however, the king goes back to its starting square, you're not going to pick up the bishop just yet, because you want all the advantage you can squeeze out of this position. So you want to either be able to capture the bishop with check or with some other advantage. So it is better even than capturing the bishop to give a check on h5, because either the king moves to a dark square, you capture the bishop with advantage because it's now your move again, or they play g6, attacking the queen but opening up a diagonal towards the rook, and now you come in, you capture the bishop. And here black is basically toast. They have maybe 2 moves they can play, maybe 3. d6, what do you think you're going to do? Well, queen is attacked, you capture this pawn, this rook is attacked, they have to defend like this, and you have a raging attack, bringing the bishop out. This is just winning for you. Of course you have to play chess to finish the game, but you have a great and winning advantage. And they could also play this, and in that case you can just come out and capture with the knight, or this immediately, or if they capture the pawn, you recapture with the bishop, immediately attacking this rook. Again, you have a great advantage. So that is one of the crucial lines, one of the spices that you want to have on the shelf, so that when you're brewing your chess stew against your opponent, you can add a little bit of these patterns whenever you want. But of course, a well-balanced stew has many nuances in the palette of taste that it can offer you and whoever you are serving. So this whole variation has some extra condiments that I'm going to put on your shelf, so it will be a well-stocked shelf. And the way I usually do this is that I go all the way back to the beginning, because repetition is the key in ignition to learn chess openings. So the Scotch game: e4, e5, knight f3 attacking, and knight c6. Many chess games begin like this. And here maybe your opponent is thinking that you will play the Italian game or the Spanish game or something. No, the Scotch, d4. And as we saw, pawn takes pawn is forced, and you're not recapturing, you're playing bishop c5. And we were looking, this particular variation, we were looking at bishop c5. Do you remember the move, the magic move here? So the magic move is pawn to c3. And we just saw this whole variation. If they capture it and open up the center for your queen, you captured here with a check. It's a sacrifice of the bishop, but you come in with the queen and you win this bishop with great advantage. That was what we just looked at. But what if they do not do that? What if they counterattack with knight f6? This is a move we also have to look at. This is a little bit more spicy. It requires a bit more of you as the master chef, but we can deal with this. What is this about? This is about that if you come in and capture here, they can capture here. So you do not want to allow that. Also, black is still thinking about, they want to get castled. They really want to get castled because they are afraid of your spicy opening play. And what you do here is you advance this pawn. And this is possible because you are controlling the center. And here, if you are playing against a chess pro, they will play pawn to d5, and it's an equal game. But you're not going to be playing against a chess pro. Even if they do this, it's fine for you. But the problem is you're playing a chess pro, so you're probably going to lose, but you would probably lose against the chess pro anyways. So this is a very deeply theoretical move that masters would play. At the lower levels, I've looked at the database, nobody plays that. What they play instead is knight g4. This looks like it makes a lot of sense, and in a way it does. Because they think you're attacking here twice. But now you just come in and capture. And you have established these two extremely strong pawns. This one is the base of the pawn chain. Is it well defended? Oh yes, indeed it is. Knight and queen are defending. The bishop will have to move. It can give a check. That's what they usually do. No problem. You block with the knight, and you have a huge advantage here because you have 3 pieces out. They have 3 pieces out. You have 2 extremely strong and well-protected pawns in the center. Even on their half of the board, they have no pawns in the center. So, a huge advantage here. Now, let's go back and look at some of the other spices that you really want to have on your shelf when you are playing this opening. So e4 and e5, knight f3 attacking, knight c6 defending, and what is the move? It is d4. They capture. This is forced. And you play bishop c4. And what if they do not play the bishop out here? Statistically, knight f6 is the move that they are going to play, and this is in fact a better move. But we have a lot of interesting stuff we can put in the stew and have it simmer and give you a great advantage. Just have to know what. And against knight f6 we are basically always playing the same move as in the other variation, e5. And they are going out here, knight g4. This is of course a little different because the bishop is not out here and you have not played the c-pawn out, so you cannot come in and capture here with the c-pawn, and you're not going to advance the c-pawn. You are instead going to think about the fact that you lured this pawn here away from the protection of the king by getting it over to the queen file. It's no longer on the king file. So you're thinking about the king, and the king is not safe. So you castle. Now your king is safe, and your rook is ready to attack the king. And the first thing here is that they cannot capture the pawn. Do you see why? This is one of the very basic ingredients that you must know when playing this opening. If they try to capture the pawn, you win immediately. Knight takes knight, knight takes knight, and rook to e1. And oops, the game is over. This knight is lost. Why? It's pinned to the king. Can't move. You capture the king. And if they defend it, you don't care because you know that your friendly ASMR chess, your friendly neighborhood ASMR chess, has taught you to pin and win. And what do we do when we have a pinned piece? We attack the pinned piece. We play f4. The knight can't move. You're going to come in and capture the knight. You're going to be a piece up, and you are going to win the game. So that doesn't work. And maybe they see that. What do we do if they see that? What kind of spices will we add then? And I want you to kind of enjoy the game as you are playing it, and think about this whole metaphor. e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, with the spices and everything. Like the great Ben Feingold once said that you have to play chess as if you want the game to never end. And just be patient and allow the different advantages and the different condiments to simmer. Don't think that you have to win the game straight out of the opening. No, we get the advantage out of the opening, and then you can sit on the advantage, build on that advantage, and take the full point home. E takes d4, bishop c5, the Scotch Gambit, knight f6, pawn to e5, knight out to g5, d4, and castles. And if they are not going to capture this, here it is that you need to understand the power of patience. Because if they don't capture this, you're just letting them simmer. You're just saying, well, if you're not capturing that, you can see you can't do that, but you have to play a move. And what can black really do? It looks like there is an obvious thing that you can do, and that would be to put out the bishop. Want to get castled? I want to put out the bishop, and you're just letting the stew simmer here. Just allowing the different spices to have that delicious taste, all the different notes of the taste just get into the stew. Just time is your friend here. They have to play a move, and they're going to play a move with this bishop. But where do they put it? They are actually putting it on c5. Statistically, that is where they go. And you're very happy to see that. And here it is that you have like the different kind of nuances. You have to appreciate it. This looks like the position where you would have pawn to c3, right? But it's not the same position. Here we are looking at the king. And we are looking at the queen. And we don't want the king to castle. So what we do is we play the bishop out ourselves. When they play the dark squared bishop out, we play the dark squared bishop out in this variation. And this attacks the queen. And there is only one good move here for black, which would be to put the bishop back. You are then going to exchange and have a pretty fine game, good control of the center, castle king. You can play chess from here. It's very pleasant, but they don't play that. Because psychologically, it's just so hard to admit that you are wrong. They don't play the bishop back. They are giving you a free move. They feel like they are giving up the last bit of control that they have. So if you look in the database, the overwhelming majority of games here, we see pawn to f6 to stop the attack on the queen. And it looks like it has a clever idea, because they anticipate your move. Pawn takes pawn, that's what you're playing, and they think, but I got this, I'm playing the knight back, I'm capturing here. But they forgot about one thing. The king. And here, rook to e1, again, check. If they move the king, you're just very happy. You have almost all your pieces in play. The king is never going to castle. You can play knight bd2, complete your development. You are just completely crushing this game positionally. You just have to be patient and just allow it to simmer. Because black is running out of moves and you are improving your game. Every single move you make, get the rooks, the knight, the queen into the attack. This bishop looking at this square, the rook looking here and here, the king is toast here. Unfortunately for black, that situation, which is very, very dire, is the best case scenario. People, and this is a little bit sadistic, maybe they play the bishop back, so they were refusing to do it earlier, and now you forced them to do it, and it's not even good because of f7. So you play bishop takes knight, looking at f7, and they can't play bishop takes bishop because of the pin of the rook to the king. So they play g takes f6, and it's very, very, very nice here. You play knight g5. So This, of course, threatens to come here, protected by the bishop, winning the queen. And there's no way to stop that unless you play pawn takes here, in which case queen check, king mate. And that is one of the main ingredients, in a way, that you will win many games using this bishop and this queen in this opening. Different variations, this sequence, this pattern crops up different places. And you can see, for instance, that if they try to defend like this, defend against this threat, well, the other threat is still there. Queen check. There's only one move here, and mate. So there's nothing to do. Black is completely toast. And now it's time for the results of round 2 of the Deployment Auto Chess Tournament. And what is that? Well, I basically asked myself, what is the perfect setup of chess pieces? And I got so obsessed with finding out that I did a whole science experiment where I asked my patrons on the channel to send in their best setups or deployments, as I'm calling them. And I'm then using Chess AI to play out the different deployments against each other in a round-robin tournament to see which deployment performs the best. And then the next step will be that I will take everything I have learned from that and synthesize it, try to make an even better deployment, and learn a lot about chess at a deeper level. We've come to round 2, another 32 hours of compute time, and again almost a billion possible moves calculated and evaluated by Stockfish, and here are the results. The first game we see here is Dr. Blueberry versus the standard starting position, and this game is over in just 11 moves. When Dr. Blueberry has white, it goes like this. I'm not going to do a very detailed analysis of these games. I just want to share them. And already at this point, the standard starting position was completely boxed in, as you can see, and had to resign the game. Can it strike back with white? Well, let's take a look. Look at this opening. I mean, it's completely hopeless from the start because of Dr. Blueberry's very nice aggressive setup, and white is getting nowhere, and black is just squeezing the black king into a box, and the game ends like this with checkmate. It's pretty nice. So that is 2-0 in favor of Dr. Blueberry. Next we have knight with the white pieces against Fargrand, and in the first round knight had a very difficult time, losing both with white and with black, but in particular this pawn mass ended up not being a strength. It ended up being very vulnerable and causing the loss in both games. But look at this matchup against Fargrand here. The pawn mass is getting moving from the start here, and I mean, there is a dark squared bishop here, but that you could almost take that piece off the board because you're never getting through this granite here. So there's a lot of moves because it's computers playing. So we end up in this position where actually knight's deployment is a piece down, but of course the pawns are extremely strong, and they are going to queen the bishop cannot hold it back. And in this position, we are about to push b7 and make a new queen, and therefore black resigned. What happens when we reverse the colors? With the colors reversed, it's a different story, because now white can do what white was also doing in the first round, which is to stop the pawns of knight, this pawn mass, moving forward. You can see it's very hard to play this move here, because takes and bishop and takes, and now these two bishops, we are going actually to get a little nice lesson in how to checkmate with two bishops. And then Farground wins with white. So that match ended 1-1. In the next matchup here, we have Maya versus Planet Zeno. And if you remember, Maya had the unique in this tournament feature that she's able to castle as the only deployment. And black is pressing, but you can see a very nice king safety for white because she was able to castle. And in this position, we are going to see a complete liquidation. Queen takes, rook takes, and 3 pawns versus 2 pawns, but 3 pawns versus 2 pawns, and rook and bishop versus rook and bishop, completely equal. So this game ended in a draw by agreement between the engines. There's no way anybody can win. That was a draw. However, when we reverse the colors, you can see that this very aggressive formation is able to strike immediately, and it is very, very hard to resist for black. Actually, it's not only hard, it is impossible. Black loses a piece and a bunch of pawns, and in this position, after only 28 moves, black resigns. Why? Piece down, 2 pawns down. This pawn is going to become a queen. There's no way to stop it. So that game ended in a win for Planet Zeno. So that match ended 1.5 to 1/2 in favor of Planet Zeno. And for the last match, we have myself versus Addison. And when I have the white pieces, you can see I have the central feature of my deployment is this pawn mass here in the center. My deployment can strike, and it's a very long game. It's very mysterious because the king moves around. I'm not sure why this king here needs to move around on all these squares all the time. But white is really pressing, and you can see the awesome power of the central pawn mass now able to break through, and white is a piece up and is about to queen, so the game is about to end. Now the rook falls, and we actually get checkmate like this. So I won with white, but when we reverse the colors, I'm just kicking myself for placing the king here. Why not be inspired like Maya was? Put it not on d1, actually put it on e1 and have this rook on h1, or in this case e8 and h8, so that I could castle. That would be almost free for me to do. And you can see how this very compact looking pawn structure for white is actually able to strike out very, very quickly. And that knight captured with a check. Notice that's check. And I probably would have been able to avoid that. And now white is really cruising, completely destroyed my awesome pawn center and going after my king and having a very safe king herself, being up a piece, and my pawn is not going anywhere. It's captured, and now they're going for checkmate, and that is checkmate. So I lost with black against Addison, so that match ended 1-1. So the standings after round 2 of the Deployment Auto Chess Tournament is that Addison, Dr. Blueberry, and Fargrand are sharing first with 3 points. Then we have myself, ASMR Chess, and Planet Zeno sharing 4th and 5th place with 2.5 points. Maya and Knight are sharing 6th and 7th with 1 point each, and the standard starting position, or as I call it, control, has 0 points. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I hope I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.